What's going on, guys? Kulprit here, and today we're going to talk about the new game mode with the Dragon Teeth DLC, that being Chain Link. Now, I've read a lot about people's opinions, even listened to quite a few videos, as I'm sure you have, and the mix of reactions to this game mode is quite surprising to me, but I guess it shouldn't be when I think about my own reaction. So when I first heard about Chain Link, the concept of it on paper, quote unquote, before, well before the DLC was out, I was actually very intrigued, and the way it made it sound to me, it was going to be this hybrid between, domination, conquest, obviously, and a little bit of rush. And when I say rush, I mean it was going to focus the attention on the map. It was going to focus to, where the combat was going to be. It was almost going to give very like demarcated front lines, and that's what I love about rush, is that you know where the action is. And even if you don't know where it is, you know where it's going to be, and that's going to be on the MCOMs. People can run all over wherever they want, but they have to come to one place to get the job done, and it's up to the defenders to keep them from doing that. It's very simple in that sense. Conquest can be a little crazy. You can literally, if you get out of sync with the server, you can never really find some good action. That's why I've always preferred rush. And I was hoping when I first saw this and read about Chain Link, it was going to be more like mixing that focused element of rush into conquest and domination. Then I gotta admit, like, when I was a little put off when I saw that little tutorial that came up on YouTube, and it quickly showed that it was basically going to be chain links. Obviously, you link 2 points, and the link is the focus there. But then you could flank around and break that link and stuff. So I was like, oh man, did they mess this up? It's not going to have that focused presence that I was hoping for. So I was kind of a little underwhelmed, a little concerned, to be quite honest. So I wasn't sure what to expect when it actually came out and came time to actually play it. I kind of thought you would have to, like, my big concept was that you would have to maintain the chain all the way back to your home spawn, your first spawn, and if your point, even if it was, the points were connected, if there wasn't a chain link all the way back to the home spawn, you didn't get credit for it, you didn't get points, or I guess how it works is you wouldn't kind of bleed any of the enemy's tickets out. You could break the enemy's links, which would keep them from scoring, but you yourself wouldn't score unless those points were all connected all the way back. And in essence, this would make, like, A flag the most important flag, because if somebody broke your A flag, then you would be getting really no points, even if you had 7 links. They're not connected to your home spawn. So I thought that would add some intrigue where, like, certain flags are clearly worth more. Obviously, we know we didn't get that. We got a different version. I'm not really sure which is better, which is worse. I'm just kind of talking about little things, and that's what it is. We're gonna have to play this. We're gonna have the community kind of get a better feel for what it is, and so that tactics and strategy can kind of come and build up around it. So let's just talk about the maps here a little bit. Excuse me. The first one we lead off was Propoganda. This one is probably the closest to what I was telling you I envision this being. It's very linear, and because of that, it has a lot of focused action. It's basically, kind of where the main flow of traffic is going to be, but at the same time, you're very much able to flank at whim and do it however you want. Now, a lot of people are drawing parallels to Operation Locker and Metro specifically. I see kind of where they're trying to what they're trying to say, but I don't actually disagree with it. It has that linear feeling, obviously, like Locker and Metro, but you're not limited in any way on your flanks. You can go long flank, you can go short flank, you can flank at just about any point you want. There's cover, there's exposure. I love the freedom of this map. It's a very simple map, and again, it's almost stupidly simple as far as the linearity of it, and just how the points are just straight down a line down the map. But because of how the map is created, you have a lot of options as to what you want to do. Plenty of opportunity for flanking, and flanking is kind of the main principle of my game, and I think a lot of you out there as well. Next, let's talk about Lumphini Garden. I'm gonna do this one second one, because this one is kind of similar to Propaganda in that it's more linear. Now, it's not quite as starkly linear as Propaganda, but this is how I differentiate the two. Propaganda and Lumphini are very linear type maps, and then you have Sunken Dragon and Pro Market, who I think are different. Again, it's more linear like Propaganda, allows you to focus, know where the action is most likely to be. You can almost predict which flags are going to be the most contested, and kind of then play accordingly. This map has a lot more long sightlines. Now, sure, Propaganda has long sightlines, certainly does, but they're kind of focused and contained. There's long corridors and things. This one literally has long sightlines. I mean, if a guy gets in an advantageous position, everybody's automatically thinking of the train tracks, obviously. They can have good sightlines over much of the map. I don't tend to like that. I like medium sightlines and stuff if you're on the same flag as me, we can each see each other, but when somebody can be completely out of my environment almost and have a beat on me, that can get very frustrating. It's coupled with the fact that this is a lot more terrain cover. than there is actual physical cover. You guys know it's undulating hills, craters, kind of little mounds and things where you can work it, and that can work to your advantage, especially in those medium range gunfights when you're fighting over a point. You know, kind of peaking hills and stuff like that is great. But again, it doesn't help you so much to, you know, kind of grenades and things, and of course those dreaded snipers that are up on the train tracks or things like that. Again, it's very sniper friendly. I could see this map kind of becoming the bane of my existence. I enjoy it right now, but I have serious concerns of the longevity, and as that frustration builds, as people start to learn the map and learn those kind of very, I'm going to use the word exploitive, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean these spots where they can really harass the enemy team. It could really raise the frustration levels. The bridge point itself is as well as awful choky. It doesn't need to be, because there are other avenues, but I don't think people have really discovered them yet. As more people discover those routes, I think that will alleviate some of that. But, you know, that is always a concern, that one point by the bridge there. It can make for some really fun fights, don't get me wrong. But I tend to get little, you know, queasy with these choke pointy maps and kind of have a lot of concern for that. Now, next we're going to look at Sunken Dragon. This map is what I call more spiderweb design, as you guys kind of envision the map. It's not linear in any way. You know, one flag then connects to two flags, and that's the two flags next. So there's no real clean cut, like I want A flag, I want B flag, then C flag, then D flag. It branches off. You can kind of be creative about it. It definitely gives you much more opportunity for, you know, changing play and stuff. But it does tend to add a little bit more to that carousel effect. And that's something I really don't like in my game modes. That feeling of, I just capped this flag as I'm 20 meters away, just going to cap the next one, the enemy's already taking it back. And that's where you get frustrated at your teammates. Can we not hold the flag? And all these things. Obviously, frustration definitely breeds in that sense. You know, the more spiderweb design, it can definitely be more fun. There's a lot more options to you as you're sitting on C flags. Say you can go to any of 3 or 4 flags, not even flanking. You just have direct routes to them. So it makes your tactics and strategy more interesting. But a lot of times when it comes down to the gameplay, I find it can be less fun, especially on this map. While it has lots of flanking, it definitely does. A lot of people tend to run in straight lines from flag to flag. With that in mind, I would say the D flag and the parking garage are kind of the main strategic point of the map. If you can control D flag and you can control that parking garage, and/or usually you can't control D flag unless you can control the parking garage. But if you do, it's very easy to influence and hold and capture. But 3 or 4 points around that. So, you know, as a tip to you, if you're really looking to kind of have an impression on the match and the game, focus on D flag, focus on that parking garage. From there, you can definitely kind of attack and hold at least 3 or 4 other flags, you know, just thinking off the top of my head. I do have concerns about Sunken Dragon. I don't feel like it's a very well balanced map. The team starting out on the Sunken Club with the Sunken Restaurant, I feel are at a pretty big disadvantage. They have longer to run to get to the other flags. The other team can have like 3 or 4 flags easily capped by the time you get to your 3rd. And not to mention that journey from A to C, say, you're wide open. You're exposed totally in that sunken, you know, basin there. I just don't think it's very good. Of course, once the match starts, it's less of a concern, because once the match starts, there's no real set spawns there. But, you know, I tend to not even go for the restaurant side. I pretty much ignore it. And like I said, I focus around D flag and you know, spidering off into the other points. And lastly, let's talk about Pearl Market. This seems to be the most controversial map overall in Dragon's Teeth DLC. Understandably so, it can be very frustrating for most people. It has the steepest learning curve, I feel, in the DLC. Obviously, words like chaotic, random, madness are all thrown around very often about this map, and you're going to get that on Chain Link 2 as well, because again, it's more of a spider design, and on top of the spider design, there's lots of verticality to this map. Now, Sunken Dragon had some, especially like I mentioned, this parking garage. Pearl Market has even more. I say Pearl Market reminds me of Battlefield 4 Titanfall, where it's very dynamic. If you want to, quote-unquote, wall climb, you can just run up any staircase that's very close to you at any point, hit one roof, jump to another roof, jump down to the ground with a parachute, and you're there. You know, it's kind of interesting in that sense. There's very few limitations on how you can travel across that map. You can be as creative as you want, or you can, you know, walk tactically slowly down the, you know, main alley, just tearing people up. It's really kind of up to you on how you play it. More physical cover in this environment than there's environmental, where I said Lumphini has more of the mounds, the undulating hills, the craters. This definitely has physical cover, the boxes, the little carts, the walls. It does surprisingly lack some core destruction. Obviously, you can kill the magazine stands and the little shops and the boxes and things, but you can't really break up very many walls on this map, which can be quite frustrating. Obviously, we know why at this point in Battlefield 4, but on these urban maps, it'd be really nice to be able to blow holes in walls. Even if I can't bring a building down, let me create pathways. I think that would really help. I don't know, on this map particularly, it would just open even more routes, but I like that ability to do things like that and be creative and outthink my opponent by creating opportunities, quite frankly. This is clear-cut urban close quarter combat, and your loadouts should reflect that. Suppressors are going to be very good on this map. High rate of fire weapons favoriting closer engagements. I'd say 40 meters and in. There are long sightlines, but you're predominantly going to find yourself in medium and in range engagements. Again, high rate of fire, high damage would probably be a good way to do it. This map, like I mentioned at the beginning, can be disorienting, quite literally. You don't know where the enemies are coming from. It is more spiderwebbed instead of linear. Linear is easier to predict. The spiderweb is much more random in that sense. And with guys able to drop down from the roofs, I mean, it's hard enough when you gotta watch your front, your left, your right, and your back, you know, on a 2D dimensional way. But when you have people that can literally parachute down off a roof behind you, and you know, when you just checked your 6 3 seconds ago, and now there's 2 or 3 guys there, it can be very frustrating, and people get mad at that. My tip to you is going to be as crazy and chaotic and madness and random as Pro Market can be. Slow down. Play smart. Be more self-aware. That doesn't mean, you know, camp or hold a position. You really can't hold a position because everything moves around so quickly. But just don't be running around like a madman. Be slow. Let the cues of your environment tell you where people are. And pay attention to that mini-map because you're going to get a sense of where the enemy's flowing. And then that's really going to help you stay alive and hopefully have an effect on the match. Overall, I'm really enjoying Chain Link on the Dragon's Teeth DLC. Obviously, it's not quite the game mode I wanted to. I would make some tweaks to it. I'm going to mention that in a minute. But it is kind of a more tactical, more strategic domination game mode. It's faster pacing than Conquest, which I really enjoy. It's less vehicles than Conquest. Dragon's Teeth as a whole seems to have less vehicles than Conquest, but particularly Chain Link has like very few, none, if it's not for a quad or something like that. Less explosive spam I'm finding too. You know, I dive, my vast majority of my deaths are to other weapons, which is fantastic. It really feels good, to be quite honest with you. Even if you have issues with the netcode and things and you're feeling cheated there, at least you're getting killed by guns, and I think that's just great. I'm really enjoying it, having a lot of fun. A couple of things I would tweak. I would get rid of the match timer. I think that's in mid setting, and we'll start to see that adjusted. I just think it's silly. It seems to only cut short the good matches to really close matches. I would double the tickets, roughly. You know, find more tickets. I want a little bit of a longer match. The neat thing about Chain Link is that as the game gets more and more lopsided, the ticket burn seems to ramp up, and you know, the blowouts just end really quickly, which is kind of nice. You know, you don't feel this sense of hopelessness like I have to sit here and take a beating for 15-20 minutes. No, you know this round's gonna be over, and then you're gonna re-roll and you can try again. I would test a longer cap time on the flags. I wouldn't quite go to the Conquest cap time, but you know, the domination real quick caps, again, I think it leads to more of the carousel effect going on. Make it a little longer. Make people sit there and defend the flags a little bit more. I think that would be better. I don't know exactly what kind of ripple effects that would have, because obviously there's not a lot of cover on some of these flags. So if you're making someone stay there longer, you're going to need to add some cover. I don't necessarily see any of this stuff happening. These are just suggestions based on my feedback. I would test the spawns as well. Maybe don't allow people to spawn on the flags, whereas they would only be able to spawn on their teammates and say beacons and stuff like that. Or maybe do the reverse. Only allow them to spawn on the flags and don't allow them to spawn on each other, their teammates. I don't know. I think that could be interesting to just see how it plays out and kind of take some of that randomness away. Could suck, but it would be something I would think would be neat to test out. And kind of, you know, it would almost, again, I'm trying to get that effect of more of a rush focused combat sense into the game mode. I think it would be neat to try. I don't really know which way that would go. And I would test only get the points that are linked all the way back to your main spawn. I think that would be a good way to go. It would clearly prioritize certain flags, you know, and you want to build up your link, your chain. A, B, C, D, E. If someone breaks up your chain, and you immediately have to go back and defend it and reclaim, that's your top priority. It won't be this endless circling around, and there will be some notion and kind of priority towards defending your flags or defending your chain at the very least. That's just some thoughts off the top of my head after playing in the first week. I'd love to hear you guys. Are you enjoying Chain Link? What's your favorite Chain Link map? Mine for me would be Propaganda, I think, right now. As well as Pro Market. I'm enjoying that one as well too, but Propaganda would be my favorite probably by the long run, because again, it seems to be the one that's more closely to WoW I envision this game mode. Like always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. I've got some more good stuff coming for you in the next week or two, so keep your eyes open for that, and talk to you soon, guys. Take care.